Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Prairie Podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Wiebe. It's a pleasure having you join us once again, whether you're a student yourself, someone interested in Prairie, maybe you learned about us through Facebook or some other means. Whoever you are, we are excited to have you with us today because we have a very special guest, an alumna by the name of Jazzy De Bruyn. So why don't you introduce yourself a little bit, tell us who you are, what you're doing right now, give us a bit of that backstory.
Yeah, I'm Jazzy De Bruyn. Currently I am in Three Hills, Alberta, and running my own business. It is Good Cleaning.
Okay, very good. So why don't you share a bit about It's Good Cleaning? It is good or it's good?
It is good.
It is good.
Yes.
It is good cleaning.
Yeah.
Why don't you share a bit about that business, what you're getting into right now, and maybe, some of the story around that.
For sure. I'd love just to tell how it started.
Yeah, of course. Please do.
Works. Yeah, so basically how this came to be is it was my fourth year, and for practicum, we had to figure out something we had to do, and me and my classmate were first discussing doing a joint food venture, but then that kept falling apart and kept falling apart, and then month later, we're just like, this is not working out. And so I just felt impressed through thinking and praying about it. I was just like, what do I do with my internship?
Yep.
And so I just felt impressed by God and with cleaning. And I've loved it since I was a little girl for some reason. Yeah, it was something that I was just like.
Interesting, okay.
Yeah, it was something I just felt so fulfilled in and called to. And it was a journey, because so then I went up actually to Nordig, and I started up there, and then I moved back to Three Hills and started getting the word out, talked to some people, and they got the word out, and it just amazed me how it just started to grow and grow a little bit more.
Yep.
And word just started to spread and of what I was doing here in town, and it was just it was amazing. And I was really, really just passionate about meeting women where they're at, because the home is a vulnerable place.
Yep.
It's where you feel safe. It's where you can relax and be yourself. And so just meeting people in that space and inviting us into that space, just showing them love depending on what background they have. I saw it as a huge ministry opportunity to meet these people where they're at, whether that was moms, single dads reaching out, or whatever.
That's really cool. I'm curious. I don't know if anything comes to mind, but do you happen to have a story or something you could share along those lines, just seeing that play out?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I've had so many people reach out to me depending what phase of life they're in. I've had single dads reach out and just say, I just need a hand and I can't keep up with this. And I'm like, I get that. Or I have other people in a vulnerable place just can't doing it on their own, because maybe they're in a mental place where they're just don't have that strength in that moment to get up and clean the house. And we've had that happen before, and just come alongside them and just encourage them and not shame them of where they're at. Yeah,
certainly. And it's interesting because cleanliness in the house, at least from what I've experienced or what I've heard, it seems to be such a, it's attached to or something, about shame and honor for some reason. If I have a dirty house, there's shame, I don't want to bring people in here.
Yes, it's
interesting how that works.
Such a mindset, how we are so involved with our environment. It very connects where our mindset is at. If we have a dirty place, that will affect us hugely.
I think it's a really cool ministry because you're pairing your ministry with your business. I'm very curious, was that something that you kind of learned during your time here, or is that something that kind of just bubbled out, I want to make a ministry out of the work that I'm doing? Where did that come from? Do you know?
I want people to feel free to come over whatever state my house is in. And I want other people out there to experience that freedom, that we don't have to attach our identity to our places and the state that they're in. That there's so much freedom if we can just let go of that. Yeah.
That's really cool. I'm just curious, how far do you service? I know you're based in Three Hills here, but how far does that reach out to?
Yeah, so we go all the way out to Drumheller.
Okay.
And we have gone to Linden.
Pretty far reaching with that sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we do travel.
That's really cool, really cool. Well, thank you for sharing a bit about that, because, I've heard about you, a bit curious. For all the listeners out there, I actually rent from Jazzy, so that's a fun fact. So I always wanted to hear a bit more of the story, how it all started there. So, Oh, good, very good. Okay, thinking back to your time at Prairie, when you were a student here, long time ago, probably not that long ago, whatever you want to say. I'm curious, what were some of the things that you took here that you have taken with you now through the rest of your life since Prairie, some ways that you've grown? Maybe there was a lesson that you learned.
Oh, so good. Actually, I love telling this story because it was at Prairie that God really broke me down and deconstructed me, and just I like to call my vulnerability, like where I felt the most not enough and the most like I wanted to hide in shame because I couldn't do school. School was not the thing for me, and I just had such a hard time with that. And during my time at Prairie, it was so like God just like broke me down and under the things I was hiding under, and just took that away and said, no, in your weakness, I am made strong. Yeah. And he just said, your weakness is going to be used for my greatness. And so at Prairie, he taught me that my weakness is actually his strength. Wow. And so I came away with knowing that when I'm out of my comfort zone, that is when God is going to show up. And that is when he's going to become real and become active. Yeah.
That's one. I was actually just having a conversation with someone today, almost in a similar vein to this. It's pretty cool about how, sometimes we have our weaknesses, and God, he's capable of taking that away or giving us the power to push through. But maybe sometimes we also just have those weaknesses so that when Christ is in us and he is able to work through us in our weaknesses, his power, his light shines even brighter and greater. We can't hold any of the credit for ourselves.
Yes, precisely. Like when it was actually so cool just to tell a story. But it was just like, I'm in the process of hiring another employee. And so in an interview with an employee, most of my employees at this point have been believers. But in this particular interview, she wasn't a believer. And so basically I broke down what my business was for. And I'm like, this is not me running it. This is God. Because the more I walk with Christ and walk deeper in my relationship with him, the more I realize how sinful I am and how selfish I am and how, I was just able to share the gospel with her, because this business I'm not doing anything, because I fall short and I fail again and again. But God's grace, like he mends those gaps where I fail. And he allows me to take that next step when I just have fear and doubt and insecurities, and I'm like, I don't know what's next. And it's just, God is so faithful. He helps me take that next step. And it's just so cool.
Okay, and I'm interested, maybe you can dig deeper into this, or maybe it's something else entirely, but I'm curious, is there something that God is teaching you right now? Maybe it is just this thing that you said, but is there something further, or maybe a different lesson that God's been working in your heart lately?
Yeah, lately God has been teaching me, with owning a business, there's many highs and many lows. many highs and many lows. And the highs are high and the lows can be low. And he's just reminding me of how constant he is. He knows every peak and every valley that I'm going to enter through. And he has been so faithful, so faithful. And been there every step of the way, lighting every step for me.
Oh, man. That's really cool. And, it doesn't even just happen when you own a business, probably, but owning a business, I think there's some very visible ways you see that. Very practical ways you can see the highs and the lows playing out, but God is with us. That's a good lesson.
He really does like that next step, and just like trusting even when all I can see is my fear, just knowing that he's going to illuminate that next step, whether that's in regards to like hiring another employee, or that's hiring an office administrator, or it's like, do I have the money to buy this? Or it's just like, he just provides so faithfully when you're walking with him.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, thank you for sharing that. And I'm always excited to hear from people what God has been teaching them, because oftentimes then I and other listeners and everybody else can learn from that, and God can speak through what you're learning to the rest of us. So thank you for sharing that. You know, you've shared a couple different stories, so I'm going to ask for a different story. I'm curious, do you have a favorite moment or memory from your time at Prairie, like a fun adventure or something? Because, okay, you were in which programs again?
I was in my first year, I was in digital media.
Okay.
And then in my the other 3 years, I was in business administration when they were just starting up.
Okay. And from what I know, there's got to be some adventure. There's got to be some story.
Oh, you know? Yes. So Dennis Landon was our instructor at the time, and he's also the instructor at Explore, but he loves to push you as far as you can go. Loves to push that boundary. And just one story I will always love, and an area he pushed me in when I'm like, no, I can't do this, is we had a project as a group, as the whole class had to do, and we each had our part to do. And my part for that was that I had to go ask the Harvest House manager how much lettuce costs, because we were starting up this lettuce growing thing, and I had to get the prices of like what the competition was in town and what the restaurants were getting in town, and that was just so terrifying for me. But after I did it, I just felt like I was on top of the world, because I pushed past what I was scared of.
Wow, that's kind of a fun assignment. So did you actually sell any lettuce, or?
No, in the end, we weren't passionate enough to make it happen. But yes.
Still a fun story nonetheless.
Yes.
Well, and that's really cool. And I'm glad to hear, you had a good time, good adventure. Good to see where you're at right now, because it is good cleaning. There's a lot of good going on.
Yes.
It's a fun name. Okay. Do you have a story behind the name?
Yes, I do actually. Okay. So it was actually, I was reading in Genesis, and I was praying over the matter, and I was just like, Lord, what should I use as a name for this? And I was just reading how he was making everything in creation. And he always said it was good. And I'm like, that's exactly how I feel after I finish cleaning. I'm like, it is good. Like, there's no better way to describe it. I'm just like, it is good. Like, after I finish every clean, I'm just like, that was good. And I'm just like, that was probably what God felt.
That's really cool. That's a fun way to make a name. But I think it's very impactful and meaningful, like you said, about tying the ministry to the work. That you can walk with saying, it is good, and I've blessed this person, and they probably feel a whole lot better. So. Yeah,
definitely can help with their mindset.
Well, there we go. I don't have any further questions for you. We've heard a bit of your story, heard what's going on, hear about a bit of your time from Prairie. We really appreciate having you here with us today. Do you have any final words for our listeners?
Yes. I would just say, if you're not knowing what to do in this next season of life, just pursue your Creator, and you'll find out more of who you are as a person. And great ways of doing that is going to Prairie or going to Cape and Ray, and I highly recommend it. Because just knowing about your Creator, you just get to know more about who you are as a person.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jazzy. It's been a pleasure having you. And for all of you listeners out there, if you want to learn more about Prairie College, maybe perchance the business program, who knows, you can check out our website, which is prairie.edu. If you would like to have a different alum that you know, or there's a student or faculty you'd love to hear on the podcast, you can send us an email at alumni@prairie.edu or marketing@prairie.edu. Make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram to keep updated with what's happening on campus. And with that, thank you, listeners. Thank you, Jazzy.
Yeah, thank you.
And have a wonderful rest of the day.